Have you ever heard that term Binance Alpha? It gets tossed around, and you sort of wonder, what does it really mean for a crypto project? Because, in this crazy fast world of digital assets, finding those tokens with real potential, well, it can feel like searching for a needle in a haystack, right? So today, we're going to cut through some of that noise. This deep dive is all about helping you understand what it actually means when we talk about Binance Alpha. We're going to take a really close look at how projects connect with Binance, the world's biggest crypto exchange, and what that connection genuinely signals. Our mission really is to demystify this whole Binance Alpha Catalyst idea and that powerful flywheel effect people mention. We'll lay out a framework, a way to categorize these connections, then we'll really get into 4 specific projects we think are interesting examples. Ultimately, the goal is to help you understand what makes some tokens seem genuinely poised for growth within this, well, massive ecosystem. We'll start by defining Binance Alpha, then explore that growth cycle, the Binance Flywheel thesis, as we're calling it. Then, like I said, we'll look closely at 4 projects, compare them a bit, and even touch on a few others to keep an eye on. Sound good?
Sounds great. And I think starting with that definition is key because honestly, Binance Alpha Token gets used pretty loosely. It covers all sorts of projects with very different kinds of relationships to the exchange. So to make good decisions, you really need a more structured way to think about it.
I totally agree. That term Binance Alpha Token, it's everywhere, but it's definitely not one single thing. It feels more like a spectrum of how integrated a project is. So how do we start breaking that down?
Exactly, a spectrum. And that's
Yeah.
why using let's say, a four-tiered framework is really useful here. It helps us get specific and actually assess risk properly by understanding how strong Binance's endorsement really is, whether it's explicit or just implied.
Okay, 4 tiers. So tier 1, what's like the absolute top level, the gold standard of being connected with Binance?
All right, so tier one is direct CEX and futures listings. These are basically the most established assets. They're fully tradable on Binance's main platform, the centralized exchange or CEX spot markets. Often they're on the futures markets too. This is pretty much the highest level of market validation you can get from Binance.
And the benefits for a project that hits tier 1 must be huge.
Oh, absolutely. First off, incredible liquidity. That means tighter spreads, less slippage, better price discovery. Huge. Then there's direct access to that massive user base. What is it now? Over 240 million global users.
Wow, yeah.
Plus, you get that implicit trust factor because everyone knows Binance has done some serious homework, some due diligence to list them. Think of names like RIF, Rootstock or AVA from Travala. Even popular meme coins like PEPE fall into this category eventually.
Okay, so that's the top. What about the next step down? Maybe newer projects, but ones that Binance is clearly actively showcasing.
Yeah, that brings us neatly to Tier 2, Binance Alpha Platform Features. These are usually earlier stage projects, but they've been officially selected and are featured right there in the Binance Wallet on the dedicated Binance Alpha Platform section. This is a really powerful direct signal from Binance. It basically says, hey, we think this one had high growth potential.
So it's more than just being listed somewhere. It's like they're putting it in a special display case, a launchpad almost.
Precisely. It is a launchpad. These projects get exclusive access to a curated audience, users, who are already engaged within the Binance ecosystem. Often this happens through their token generation events, their TGEs, or maybe targeted airdrops. Sometimes you even need these things called Binance Alpha Points to participate. So yeah, it's a very strategic way for them to build that initial user base and get liquidity flowing. Super valuable for new projects.
Yeah, okay. And examples here would be,
Well, projects like AIBot, BDXN, DLabs, and Merle, which we're going to unpack in detail soon, but also others like Darkstar, Sapien, OVL, Palo, PHY. You get the idea. They get that specific platform boost.
got it. All right, tier 3 then. BNB Chain, native and ecosystem integrations. I'm guessing this is all about projects actually built on Binance's own blockchain, the BNB Smart Chain.
You nailed it. These are projects whose tokens are BEP20s, built right on the BNB Smart Chain. Or maybe they're integrated with other key Binance services, like Binance Pay. The benefit here is they directly leverage the BNB chain itself, its speed, low fees, and that whole huge ecosystem of dApps, like PancakeSwap.
So they're kind of native sons and daughters of the ecosystem.
Kinda, yeah. And while they might not be featured on that specific alpha platform yet, they're often seen as prime candidates for deeper integration down the line. Good examples would be Anon token, KPI, which is closely tied to PancakeSwap, and even that meme coin, Broccoli, which popped up after a viral post from CZ, the former Binance CEO.
Okay, interesting. And the last tier, tier 4, indirect association. This sounds, well, weak. Is there any real alpha here?
Honestly, Not really. This is definitely the weakest category. And frankly, we tend to exclude these when we're doing a deep analysis. This is where Binance is just mentioned as like a place where you could buy BNB, the base currency, so that you can then go buy some other token on a decentralized exchange or DX.
Ah, so it's just those generic how to buy guides you see everywhere.
Exactly. Mostly just for SEO, trying to catch search traffic. It carries no meaningful Binance Alpha, no real endorsement or ecosystem benefit. Not what we're focused on today.
Okay, that framework makes a lot more sense. We've got the different levels of connection sorted. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, right? This flywheel effect.
Hmm.
Once a project does have that strong, genuine connection, say tier 1 or tier 2, how does that actually create this powerful, self-reinforcing growth cycle you mentioned?
Right, the flywheel. It's all about how these different advantages provided by the Binance ecosystem start interacting and reinforcing each other. It creates this synergy that just dramatically lowers the hurdles for adoption and speeds up those network effects.
Yeah.
It's like giving them a running start, a real edge.
Okay, so break down the components for us. What makes this Binance flywheel spin so effectively?
Okay, first and foremost, unmatched liquidity. We touched on this, but Binance is just the most liquid exchange, period. For any token involved, this means tighter spreads, less slippage, better price discovery. It just makes the asset way more attractive and easier to trade for everyone.
Instantly makes it more appealing, yeah.
Absolutely. Second component, that massive user base. Over 240 million users globally. That's an incredible go-to-market channel handed to you. It means instant exposure, and it massively cuts down the cost of acquiring customers, which is usually a huge challenge for new projects.
And for those BNB chain native projects?
For them, number 3 is the BNB chain network effects. They get to plug directly into a high-performance, low-cost blockchain that already has a mature ecosystem of dApps, with PancakeSwap being the big one. That's ready-made infrastructure and user access.
Okay, liquidity, users, network effects. What else?
Fourth is institutional credibility. Getting listed or featured by Binance acts as a huge stamp of approval. It signals legitimacy, trustworthiness, and that often attracts further institutional investment and other important partnerships. It just opens doors.
Right, and the fifth?
Fifth is the whole suite of integrated services. Binance has built this really sticky ecosystem, right? You've got the Binance Wallet, Binance Pay, Binance Earn. All these things enhance the token's utility and help keep users locked into the ecosystem. It makes it harder for users to leave.
It really sounds like Binance is acting almost like an incubator or an accelerator, not just an exchange.
Yeah. That's a perfect way to put it, especially for those tier 2 projects on the Binance Alpha platform. It really does function as a kind of subsidized go-to-market engine. Think about it. Acquiring those crucial early users is incredibly expensive and difficult for most startups. Binance basically steps in and outsources that critical phase. They present these hand-picked projects directly to millions of their most engaged users.
So it cuts their costs and speeds things up dramatically.
Dramatically. It lowers their customer acquisition cost and just accelerates their whole journey towards reaching critical mass. That's a massive competitive advantage that most projects can, frankly, only dream about.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, that sets the stage perfectly. Let's zoom in now. Let's look at 4 specific projects that really show this flywheel effect in action, but also highlight different kinds of opportunities and, importantly, risks for you, our listener. First up, AIBOT, also known as Cherry AI. The narrative here is pretty ambitious. They want to be the core economic engine for a suite of AI tools within the whole Telegram crypto scene, which is booming.
Right, and their specific Binance catalyst was that exclusive token generation event, the TGE, hosted right on the Binance Wallet. And the key part, as we mentioned, was how it targeted users. It wasn't just open to anyone. You needed Binance Alpha points to get in. This was super strategic. It helped them solve that cold start problem by bringing in what they hoped would be engaged, high-value participants right from the beginning.
Smart. So not just casting a wide net, but really aiming for quality early adopters. What kind of tools are they actually offering in this Telegram ecosystem?
They're aiming for what they call an end-to-end stack, so things like AI-powered trading bots, they call theirs, Cherry Sniper. Also, tools for community management, like their raid bot, and ways to discover new tokens through Cherry Trending. And they're reporting some pretty impressive numbers, claiming over 15 million users, installations in over 200,000 Telegram groups, and generating over $5 million in on-chain revenue since late 2024. They even claimed 65% month-over-month growth.
Those are definitely attention-grabbing numbers. How does the token, AIB bot, fit into all this? What are the tokenomics?
The AI Byte token is meant to be central. You use it for advanced features, boosts in games they might integrate, getting airdrops, and importantly, for revenue sharing. They also have this quite strong deflationary mechanism built in. 50% half of the platform's revenue is used to fund buybacks, burns, and staking rewards. So it directly ties the token's value accrual back to how much the platform is actually being used, and it has a fixed supply of 1 billion tokens.
That revenue share and buyback burn sounds pretty appealing for holders. But, okay, let's talk risks. Where are the red flags we need to be watching out for with AIBI?
Yeah, there's a pretty major one right off the bat. Team identity. It's confusing. Official press releases name a CEO, Mohammed Ali Nasser, but then you see other reports suggesting the team is actually anonymous. That kind of contradiction is, well, it's not great for trust, is it?
No, definitely not. What else?
Well, the Telegram bot space is fiercely competitive. You've got big established players like Trojan, Maestro. It's a tough market to crack, even with AI features.
Yeah.
And finally, you can't ignore the price action post-TGE. The token dropped something like 83%. That indicates some really significant early selling pressure, which potential investors definitely need to factor in.
Okay, so let's map out that flywheel, that potential virtuous cycle for AIBOT.
Yeah.
The Binance TGE gets them targeted users. Those users generate on-chain revenue. Half that revenue fuels buybacks and burns, which should help the AIBO price,
Right.
making the platform look better, attracting more users.
Right. That's theory, yes.
So the absolute key metric for you, the listener, to watch here isn't just the user count. It's got to be the sustained growth of that on-chain revenue. That's what feeds the whole mechanism. All right, let's shift gears. Project number 2, BDXN, or Bondex. Their big pitch is being a Web3 LinkedIn, aiming to shake up the whole professional networking and talent industry. What's the angle here?
Bondex definitely has a compelling vision. They're focusing on things like users owning their own data, having a verifiable on-chain reputation, and using tokens for real incentives, like offering referral bounties up to $10,000. Pretty eye-catching. And their Binance catalyst was quite strong. They got a high-profile dual listing featured on both the Binance Alpha platform and listed on Binance Futures. That gives them early liquidity and market validation. But maybe the most powerful thing is that they apparently have an operational partnership directly with Binance Recruitment. That's huge validation, right? Using the platform themselves.
Wow, yeah, an operational partnership with Binance's own recruitment arm. That's definitely a deep integration, suggests Binance really sees utility there. What about user traction? Are people using it?
They're reporting good numbers. 5 million app downloads, over 130,000 daily active users. And they say they've onboarded some big names in Web3 as recruiting partners Chainlink, Solana, CoinMarketCap. Plus, the team is public, led by CEO Ignacio Palomera, and they've raised a decent amount, over $10 million, from well-known investors like Animoca Brands and Morningstar Ventures. Looks solid on the surface.
Okay, and the tokenomics for BDXN. How does the token work in their system?
The BDXN token is planned as the core utility for things like posting job ads, paying for premium subscriptions, governance, and funding those big referral bounties. And like AIBD, the plan is to use platform revenue for BDXN buybacks.
Okay, sounds standard enough. But you pause there. What's the catch? What's the big risk?
Yes. The catch. There's a critical risk here, and it's all about token unlocks. It's potentially severe in the medium term. As of mid-2025, something like 84% of the total supply was still locked up. Yep. And a massive 94% of the tokens that were airdropped are set to unlock gradually through 2026.
Whoa, that's a huge amount of supply waiting to hit the market.
Exactly. It's a massive overhang. This impending inflation poses a significant threat of downward price pressure. And here's the kicker. Their current revenue model, based on things like job postings averaging only, 0 to 24 cents, it's just nowhere near enough to absorb that kind of supply flood right now. It's like trying to bail out a sinking ship with a teaspoon.
So it's a race against time for them to scale revenue massively before those unlocks really hit hard.
Precisely. That's the core challenge. However, if we circle back to that Binance connection.
Ah, the futures listing.
Exactly. That dual listing, specifically on Binance Futures, offers a more sophisticated angle, right? For investors who are maybe bullish long-term but worried about that medium-term price cliff, well, futures allows for hedging strategies. It potentially turns what looks like a pure high-risk gamble into something a bit more manageable, maybe a longer-term play where you can actively manage the risk from those unlocks. It's a nuance worth noting.
That's a really interesting point, using Binance's own tools to navigate a risk inherent in a Binance-associated project. Okay, third deep dive. Let's move into gaming with D-Labs from D-Labs Games. Their angle seems to be leveraging established IP, which sounds smart in this super crowded Web3 gaming space.
It is smart. Their whole narrative is built around using existing popular intellectual property, specifically the Ragnarok franchise, which is huge globally, and combining that with an experienced game development team makes sense. Their Binance catalyst involved being officially selected for the Binance Alpha platform. Their TGE was hosted on the Binance Web3 wallet, and trading happens mainly through PancakeSwap on the BNB chain.
Mm.
And importantly, that TGE required users to use BNB, the Binance coin, which really embedded them in the Binance ecosystem right from launch. Offering verified on-chain access via the wallet was part of that too.
Okay, Ragnarok is definitely a big name. What other games do they have, or are they planning?
Their portfolio includes a few titles for PC and console, like Rumble Racing Star and Space Refugee. But the big one, the anchor, is definitely Ragnarok Libre, which is an idle RPG using that globally recognized IP. The studio itself was founded by Junmo Kwon, and it's backed by a South Korean company called 4.33 Creative Lab. They've also raised a good chunk of capital, $16.9 million from some top VCs in the space. Hashed, Spartan Group, Polygon Ventures, and Yield Guild Games. YGG. Solid backing.
Right. And the token, D-Labs, how does that function across their different games?
So DLab is designed as their universal cross-game utility token. It's for governance, staking, making in-game purchases, and also for trading on their NFT marketplace. Total supply is set at 3 billion. What's interesting is their distribution seems quite community-focused. A large chunk, like 32%, is allocated for airdrops and community rewards, and another 23% for general ecosystem support. Investor tokens do have lockup periods, which is standard.
Okay, strong team, good funding, established IP, sounds like a solid foundation. But Web3 gaming is notoriously tough. What are the main risks here? Is it just about making a fun game?
Pretty much, yeah. The primary risk for DLabs is fundamentally execution. Can they actually deliver a gaming experience that is genuinely fun and sustainable? Something people want to play long-term, not just grind for rewards for a few weeks. That's the hurdle almost all play-to-earn or Web3 games face. Retaining players when the novelty wears off, or if the token price drops, is incredibly hard. And they're not alone. They face direct competition from very successful studios like Sky Mavis, the team behind Axie Infinity. It's a high bar.
Execution risk. Got it. Okay, our fourth and final deep dive project, Merle or Merlin Chain. This one is tackling a huge narrative right now, Bitcoin Layer 2 solutions.
Absolutely huge. Merlin Chain's goal is essentially to unlock all that value locked up in Bitcoin, making Bitcoin's native assets usable in a whole vibrant ecosystem of decentralized applications, DeFi, gaming, you name it. And their connection with Binance is particularly noteworthy. It's been exceptionally strong and seems to have evolved over time. They progressed through multiple stages within the Binance ecosystem, starting with Binance Alpha, moving to Binance Alpha airdrops, and eventually getting a full CEX listing on Binance itself.
So it wasn't just a one-off feature. It looks like Binance kept watching them, kept engaging, and deepened their support over time. That implies sustained confidence, right?
That's exactly how it reads. It suggests ongoing due diligence and growing confidence from Binance's side. A multi-stage endorsement like that is quite powerful.
Okay, so what does Merlin Chain actually do? How does it add functionality to Bitcoin?
Well, it's a Layer 2 scaling solution. It's designed to bring enhanced capabilities and scalability to the Bitcoin network. It uses some pretty advanced tech things like ZK rollups, which bundle transactions for efficiency, a decentralized Oracle network for real-world data, and on-chain fraud proofs for security. Crucially, it creates an environment that's compatible with the Ethereum virtual machine, the EVM. This means developers who are used to building on Ethereum can use familiar tools to build applications on top of Bitcoin now. It's developed by a team called Bitmap Tech, who are pretty well regarded in the Bitcoin space. The whole idea is to shift Bitcoin from being just a passive store of value into a truly productive asset base.
Makes sense. And the Merle token, how is that integrated into the Merlin ecosystem?
The Merle token is deeply woven in. It serves multiple core functions. It's the governance token for voting on proposals, it's used for staking by the validators who secure the network, and it's the native gas token you use to pay for transaction fees on Merlin Chain. The total supply is capped at 2.1 billion tokens, nice nod to Bitcoin's 21 million cap. And again, the distribution seems quite community-oriented. 40% allocated for ecosystem development, 20% for a big community event they called Merlin Seal. The team and advisor allocations are relatively modest, which the community generally likes to see.
But building layer 2s on Bitcoin wasn't originally designed for complex smart contracts like Ethereum was. What are the big challenges or risks facing Merlin?
You hit the nail on the head. The sheer technical complexity of building secure, efficient, and truly decentralized layer 2s on top of Bitcoin is a major challenge. It's still relatively new territory. Plus, the competition in the Bitcoin L2 space is heating up fast. There are numerous other projects, many well-funded, all racing to build similar solutions. It's becoming a crowded field very quickly. And ultimately, like any platform, Merlin Chain's success really hinges on its ability to attract developers and build a genuine, sustainable ecosystem of useful applications on top of Bitcoin. That's the long-term game.
Okay, wow. We've just unpacked 4 really different projects: AI Bot, BDXN, DLabs, Merle, each leveraging Binance in distinct ways, each with its own set of risks and potential rewards. So how do these stack up against each other? If you're listening, how do you start comparing these different approaches within the Binance ecosystem?
Yeah, let's do a quick comparative summary. It helps frame the choices. AI Bot. Think of it as a high-risk, potentially high-reward bet focused on the AI and Telegram bot narrative. It has strong tokenomics on paper, but that team transparency issue is a significant concern. Very speculative. BDXN. This one has a strong team, a compelling vision for disrupting professional networking, but that massive token unlock schedule makes it very high risk in the medium term. It feels better suited either for very long-term patient capital or for more sophisticated investors comfortable using tools like Binance Futures to hedge that unlock risk. DLabs. This feels more like a classic venture capital bet on product execution, specifically in gaming. The risk is definitely there, can they make great games, but it's significantly de-risked by having an experienced team, solid funding, and that existing popular Ragnarok IP, Merle. Of the 4 we dove into, Merle feels the most mature. It's really a systemic bet on the success of the entire Bitcoin L2 narrative, and it clearly has strong, multifaceted, and evolving support from Binance, which adds a layer of confidence.
That's a great way to summarize the distinct flavors. Now, beyond these 4, you mentioned our sources also flagged a kind of watch list, other interesting tokens with their own unique connections to Binance. Let's touch on a few of those quickly.
Sure. Just briefly, looking at some more established plays, maybe closer to Tier 1 or Tier 3, you've got RIF, Rootstock. It's another Bitcoin sidechain, directly listed on Binance. So it offers maybe a more established, potentially lower risk way to get exposure to that whole Bitcoin DeFi theme compared to newer L2s. Then there's AVA, Travelodge. This one's interesting because it's the native token for a crypto-friendly travel booking platform. It's fully listed on Binance and integrated via Binance Pay. It's a good example of real-world utility being amplified by the ecosystem. And CKP, CakePie. This is a sub-DAO for PancakeSwap, so it's basically a pure play bet on the continued health and growth of DeFi, specifically on the BNB chain. Its fate is tied directly to PancakeSwap's success.
Okay, those are more established. What about some that are maybe earlier stage but writing powerful narratives, perhaps closer to Tier 2?
Yeah, a couple that caught our eye. AEO, Aerodrome Finance. It's a leading AMM, an automated market maker, but on the base layer 2 network, which is incubated by Coinbase. The interesting part is it's been tagged Binance Alpha on some third-party tracking platforms, suggesting Binance might be watching it closely, even though it's on a competing chain's L2. And another one is Sapien. They're building what they call a decentralized data foundry, basically focused on providing data for training AI models. This hits 2 massive narratives: DeBIN, decentralized physical infrastructure, and AI. It's seen as a high-conviction play in that cutting-edge sector, and reportedly has both Binance Alpha Platform and Binance Futures support.
DeBIN plus AI, definitely a hot area, and, we have to mention them. What about the more speculative side? Any meme coins with specific Binance ties?
Right. Well, there's always speculation. 2 that came up with BNB chain roots. Brocopoly. This was a meme coin on BNB Smart Chain that apparently gained traction directly because of a viral post related to CZ, the former Binance CEO. Pure narrative play. And similarly, BUBB, another BNB chain meme coin that gave some attention after some interaction involving Binance co-founder Yi He. So again, these are highly speculative, but their origin stories are intrinsically linked, culturally at least, to Binance figures. Use extreme caution, obviously.
Wow, okay. What an exploration. From top-tier listings down to meme coin narratives, it really drives home that Binance Alpha isn't just one thing. It's way more nuanced than a simple label.
It absolutely is. And hopefully it's clear that if you want to approach this intelligently, you really need a framework. You need to dissect the nature and the strength of that connection to Binance. It's about understanding how to potentially leverage that powerful flywheel effect while also being really clear-eyed about the very distinct risks each project carries. They are not all the same.
So wrapping this up for you, our listener, The key takeaway isn't about finding the single best Binance Alpha token. That probably doesn't exist. It's more about using this kind of analytical framework, the tiers, the flywheel components, the specific project risks to build a diversified portfolio that actually matches your goals, your timeline, and your tolerance for risk.
Exactly. You might decide to balance things out. Maybe a core holding in an infrastructure play you believe in, like Merle, combined with a smaller venture-style bet on an execution-heavy project like D-Labs, and maybe even smaller, higher-risk position in a narrative play like AI Bot, if that fits your profile. Diversification based on understanding.
That makes a lot of sense.
And it leaves us with a final thought, maybe something provocative for you to mull over. Given the undeniable power and ecosystem effects we've seen with Binance, what other major platforms out there, whether they're centralized exchanges or maybe even big decentralized protocols, might be creating their own unique flywheel effects? Effects that maybe the market hasn't fully recognized or priced in yet. And could you take the kind of framework we discussed today and apply it to discover those opportunities elsewhere in the crypto landscape? Something to think about.